Testing. What's going on, William? Thank you for joining. I appreciate you, man. You're my number one, YouTuber friend here. Zach Dagger, thank you for joining, man. So grateful for all of you joining. But William, you're a good guy, man. I appreciate you. Hi, Star. Good evening. Thank you guys for joining here. So we'll give it a few moments here before we begin, but I'd really love to answer any questions that you guys have. Definitely just hold on to it. We'll definitely cover questions that you have, and I'll be giving you my overall just perspective on what we're seeing in the market. But we'll get started in a few here. So appreciate you guys joining here. We'll give it a few moments here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. I'm having an awesome Saturday so far. I'll be having dinner in about an hour, so I'll have to leave in about an hour to celebrate birthday event. So we'll start in a bit here. Okay, so keep those questions, think of those questions and put it in the chat. We'll definitely go through all of the questions here. We have a lot to cover, especially with everything that's going on. We'll cover all of that. Yep, exactly. So William, praise the name of Jesus Christ. I definitely got my cross here. We got to put Jesus Christ first. All right, so Kevin Reed, all I see is wins. Not so much wins recently, but we got to have that laser sharp focus. The gains are going to be coming. We just got to ride through these turbulent times, and definitely we'll be making some gains. Definitely. All right, so perhaps we can go ahead and we can get started. So I appreciate you guys all joining here. I hope that you guys are having a beautiful, blessed Saturday. Just with the market dynamics that's going on, we've been hearing a lot about changes in the Department of Government Efficiency. I think a lot of that is just reactionary news with investors. Investors, when they hear about tariffs, they get afraid. But when you think about it, tariffs are actually a good thing. I think that once we start seeing stability in the economy, I think that's where things are going to start reforming and reshaping. We have a president who's a businessman. He's definitely all about the U.S. economy. Trump 1.0, he really used the stock market as an indicator. So I think that where we are, we're still early in the game right now. Yes, February was a downward month, but I think that we're going to see some upside as we head into the year or in the rest of the year 2025 and the month of March. So question from Star. I have a question. Altcoin, I made 70%. So good job on that, man. That's definitely some big gains. But bull run not yet happened. Rode into miners now or wait? So especially if you're up 70%, I think that definitely circulating into the miners right now. You see the big three right now, like MARA, Riot, CleanSpark, definitely undervalued. There's no question that it's going to stay down at this basement low. Based on technicals, we're going to see some big run-ups, and the fundamentals are there. We saw good earnings report That's really going to be the driving factor here. It's just a matter of time when we see these things start running up here. But just looking at, Bitcoin right now, I mean, yellow line here, we saw that retracement of Bitcoin going down to like 78,000. That really stirred the pot quite a bit, right? I mean, all of us were like, what the heck is going on? I mean, is it going to drop even further? Just with that consolidation for the last, 3.5 months, and all of a sudden, Bitcoin just dumps down sub 80,000. But I definitely do think that the big anomaly we're seeing here is heavy selling here. There's lots of selling pressure here, but what this tells us is that there's going to be some big buy-ups here, especially when the RSI just runs down here. I do think that we're going to see a V shape. Uh, I don't have a magic 8 ball, but I think that with this RSI being this low, we're going to see big time buys from the whales, and like what William has alluded to, BlackRock, you know, they've been buying up Bitcoin just recently, just with this downward turn. And who knows, MSTR might announce Monday updates, but I think, there's rumors looking to fork Bitcoin. A lot of these big time institutions, they try to bring down the price so that they can buy up more. That's just the name of the game here. But I think as we, just, zoom in here, just with the recent trajectory, key indicator here is, with that downward motion that we saw down to like 77,000, we're in the near term right now, just based on technicals, we're seeing RSI pick up in the near term. Key thing is we're above the Ichimoku cloud, but again, this is just based on short-term day trading here. But as we scale out here, from an hour perspective, we're hovering above the cloud. Hopefully, we can see that continue. We don't want to be above that Ichimoku cloud, but long-term perspective from a monthly view here, we're still below that cloud. So hopefully, through the recent inflows, we can just catapult up, get that V shape going with Bitcoin price. All right, so Kevin, the miners are basically where they started before the bull run. How did they 5-6x from here? That's a great question, Kevin. Um, we'll definitely cover all of that, but I think what's key here is that seeing these miners drop like 60% in like the last couple of weeks here since November. There's heavy suppression, short selling of these big time stocks. When you look at like MARA, for example, there's no way for MAR to be this undervalued right now. It's just going to bounce back up. We've seen MARA go from like $3 to $80. Of course, where we are today, it's much different. But when these things run, they can run very fast. That's the key thing to keep note of here. These aren't like the big Mag 7 companies like NVIDIA, Meta, Apple, Google, Tesla, right? These stocks, I mean, they're considered like mid cap, small cap type of plays. So anything can happen. We've seen Trump 1.0 where these stocks ran up like 10, 20x. So I wouldn't exclude that potential, but I think that in the year 2025, with the fundamentals really starting to be a driving factor, we're going to see those technicals really kick in here. I also just wanted to, just give you an overall perspective. One thing to keep note here that I think is very key here is the correlation with M2, global supply. Think of the blue line as like global liquidity, all the money around the world here. So the supply of money is increasing here, which is a good sign. The black line is Bitcoin, but Bitcoin tends to lag behind the global supply within like 8 weeks or so. So with this recent run up here from like February to end of February, we're expected to see Bitcoin price, start following the M2 supply. And who knows, right? We've been hearing a lot about strategic Bitcoin reserve, U.S. Sovereign wealth fund. Who knows if like this M2 supply, the money from like stocks, bonds, and treasuries, it starts funneling into Bitcoin. By default, we're going to see that supply shock, Bitcoin price starts running up. But overall, I think that what we see just with the recent, downward uh, suppression with Bitcoin, I think this is just a healthy retracement. Now that gives us the opportunity for us to see Bitcoin gap up. Things can't just run up like like from a upward slope. I think consolidation for the last like 4 months, and then now we see this downward motion here. That's going to give it some more pressure to shoot back up. Think of it as like buoyancy force. All right, so leave your questions in the chat. I thank you guys for joining here. We'll definitely cover all of the questions here, but I appreciate everyone here joining. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday here. But let's continue here. Just Bitcoin right now at like 1.7 trillion here. It's going to start running up here. It's going to bypass gold. Matter of when, we don't know. But just with Fort Knox, right? The Doge is going to be auditing Fort Knox, and it's going to be interesting to hear what the results are from that outcome. But just with Bitcoin climbing up the ladder here, it's going to be multi-trillion at one point as the top asset market cap. All right, so I hope that answers your question, Kevin. And then here we have William. Question: BlackRock rumor looking to fork Bitcoin. So whenever we have these big time players, they have a lot more information than we do. We're just like the retail investors, the big time, people behind the scenes, behind the curtains. They know a lot of information that we don't know, market makers, all of that. You know, BlackRock, they're like one of the biggest financial institutions out there. Because you got money, you can manipulate the prices and all of that. But I think that given the fact that Bitcoin, it's a limited commodity, price is just going to keep going up here. So I think by default, we're in it for the long run here. But here's a posting from Plan B here. I think that it's critical for us to just look at what Plan B has to say here. This dream scenario had a great start, but Bitcoin went a different path. We can throw it in the garbage bin now. No, this is not stock to flow. It's just a scenario, one possible pathway towards stock to flow target levels. My expectation is still 500,000 average for 2024, 2028, 250,000 to 1 million range. So very bullish here, but when you look at the months here, right? Trump wins November, December, massive ETF inflows, which we've seen. January, crypto people companies return to US Bitcoin to 200K. Power Law crew sells Bitcoin 100K. March, Bitcoin legal tender in Bhutan, Argentina, and Dubai, Bitcoin 300K. April, Trump US start building strategic Bitcoin reserve, Bitcoin 400K. May, other countries except EU join the rat race, Bitcoin 500K. June, start AI start using Bitcoin to autonomously traditional finance, Bitcoin 600K. July, December, face melting FOMO, Bitcoin $1 million, 2026 distribution phase, Bitcoin back to 500,000, 2027, Bitcoin bear market, the bottom 200,000. So that just gives you an overall color of, just with what Plan B is forecasting. And you see here, Bitcoin closed February at 84,000, the dump before the pump. So here's the stock to flow model that Plan B has generated here. But is this truly the dump before the pump to the next leg up? I think that this is a healthy retracement, and I look forward to hearing what you guys think about this retracement. Is this a good indicator for us to gap up here, or what are your thoughts? All right, so star SS. Litecoin ETF approval. That's interesting. I didn't know that there's ETF approval here. So, William, which of the three miners would you buy now if you had funds? I personally think that, you know, any news that we get from Riot Platforms right now can really shoot up the share price. I mean, it's been just suppressed heavily, but I think that with the wattage that they have at the Corsicana facility, being close to Stargate, any near-term update, they could easily shoot up by like 40% here. So we saw the stock to flow model here, but just we see that upside here. So I think that we're not out of the woods with the Bitcoin bull cycle yet. So definitely some opportunity here. Uncle Timble, thanks for joining. Yep, I appreciate the comment. I actually I just gave myself a cut, so I hope you guys like my fade here. I just cut my own hair. I've been cutting my hair ever since I've been a little kid, like middle school to now. So, um, yep, appreciate the comment there. So, William, we'll cover all of those updates definitely because I have a lot to cover on that. But here, at Bitcoin Malls, all of these states right now. Why are all these states orange? Key thing is we have a president who's pro crypto. All of these states, they want to adapt, they want to adjust, they want to position themselves for long term growth. And with all of these data points, it would be very unlikely that these states will all get rejected. And it's interesting here. You see Utah ahead of the race, Arizona right behind. But what's interesting is big state Texas is catching up here, and I think with their proposal, they have Bitcoin clearly noted in their strategic Bitcoin reserve proposal. So I think we have some big time opportunities that's coming. It's just a question of when are we going to hear these updates. I think that's what's key here. All right, so just looking at strategy here, I don't know if everyone here is invested in strategy, but you see here 3 month return, down 34%. I mean, 2024 was a great year for strategy, but dropping by like half of that price, from 550 now, like dropping more than 50% from that top off here. I think that strategy is definitely a great buying opportunity. We'll go through the technicals too, but here's one of the reasons why. Look at their treasury, close to 500,000 bitcoins on their balance sheet. Yes, on the bull side, people are saying, well, Bitcoin price is getting close to their average cost. But when you think about it from a long-term perspective, there's not going to be opportunity like this for other companies to buy Bitcoin. I mean, they've been buying for the last, you look here, they've been buying Bitcoin since 2020 during COVID around less than $10,000. So it doesn't matter if it's buying high or buying low, they continuously buy. And then we're eventually going to see more data points. So that's just the moral of the story with MicroStrategy. But from a long-term perspective, I think that price will just continue to go up. That's really how Michael Saylor is winning here. So definitely some great opportunity when it comes to a company like Strategy, especially with the recent downturn here. And you also see here, I mean, MSTR continues to dominate the Mag 7. Yes, we don't see that yet in this year, but I think that there's opportunity here. All right, going back to the chat here. So let me know what your questions are, what you'd like for me to provide updates on. Please leave it in the chat here. So going down here, Uncle Timble, do you think a kick of FOMO is going to start kicking in for the upcoming week because of the crypto summit on March 7th? Yes, thanks for bringing that up. So there's the crypto summit. White House, Trump is going to have, the crypto summit. I mean, this is the very first time having this type of event at the White House. You have Eric Trump, you have Donald Trump, you have the CEOs of like the crypto companies, you even have the CEOs of miners as well. So I think we're going to get more color, at least for these North American companies that are, leveraging Bitcoin. And there's really going to be discussions around how the government can add value to these North American companies and how these North American companies can add value to the government. So think about strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think all of this will be just more on the how-to discussion, like how do we execute on strategic Bitcoin reserve. So I think right now when you look at like the top hodlers, you have like MSTR, you have MARA, Riot, CleanSpark, Tesla as like the top companies that hold on to Bitcoin. So these hodl factors haven't really been priced in yet, but I think that it's definitely going to be one of the catalysts that will push up the price of Bitcoin. But let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin right now. So, currently at, 86,000, hopefully we see a V shape, kick in here. It'll be interesting. But you see here, just getting above that Ichimoku cloud, from technicals here, I think that, we're looking much better here. So hopefully we see the V shape continue over the course of time here. But definitely Bitcoin is significantly undervalued with all of these, low data points, with RSI being below the 20 threshold. All right, so looks like we got more people joining here, but first off, I appreciate you guys all joining here. Just leave your questions in the chat. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are we expected to see a V shape coming, or what are your thoughts here? So let me just start a poll here. So will we? All right, so I have a poll going on right there. So, I'll keep this poll going on for 1 minute here. Let's see what everyone has to say when it comes to with the polls here. Let me know what your thoughts are with with whether there's going to be a V shape or not. So far we got 4 votes, 5 votes. Yep, put your votes in right now so I can end the poll. But let's see what your thoughts are. And first off, if you're watching right now, thank you guys for joining here. I love doing these live events, especially on Saturday. I mean, not only am I learning, but hopefully I hope that we all can collaborate and share ideas here just with the questions that we're answering and asking. All right, so far it looks like we have a couple votes here, but based on what we have here, it's we have 6 people answering yes that Bitcoin will V-shape in March, and 1 person thinking that it's not. So I'm going to end the poll there, but I appreciate you guys all answering that there. That's an interesting take here. Looks like we're getting more people joining here. Thank you all for joining. Hope you all are having a great Saturday. First off, please, I appreciate you hitting the like right now. If you're watching, hit that like for this live channel. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to this channel. I'm really trying to, get to that new milestone achievement of 10,000 subscribers, right at that 9,000 subscribers. So hopefully can get, beyond that, which will be the next milestone. All right, so just looking at Bitcoin right now, 86,000. So let's get back into that 90,000. Let's get back into that 100,000. But I think with that recent retracement, I think all of what we're seeing is just FUD, temporary news. DeepSeek kicked us in the butt. The Bybit hack kicked us in the butt. The stock market kicked us in the butt with the government talking about tariffs and all that. But at one point, eventually, all of this is going to go away. I think when there's fear on Wall Street, this is where we capitalize. I think the fear factor right now on Bitcoin and stocks, it's really high right now. but I think definitely it's just a short-term hiccup. I remember when Trump, 1.0, when that took place. I mean, the stock market just ran up. I'm really hedging on our president here. I mean, it's his last term as president. I think he's really gonna, have some fireworks results that's gonna show when it comes to the overall markets here. All right, so thank you, Star, for sharing. I mean, that's some big time, amounts there. 1.5 Bitcoin, 36 Ethereum, 500 Litecoin. You are a big whale, man. So congratulations, and I appreciate you sharing that perspective here. Just taking a look at a posting here from Adam Livingston. I think he nails it here. I mean, just with Trump tariffs, the dollar flood, why Bitcoin MSTR will crush expectations. So we're gonna get tariffs on like steel and all that with Canada, China. The market, they react to that type of news here. But I think key thing is that tariffs are just a tax on imports, meaning higher costs get passed to consumers. Inflation ticks up, and what's going to happen? I mean, the Federal Reserve will just continue to print more money, right, and just inject more liquidity, more fiat into our system. And what does that mean for all of us? Inflation will just continue to go up, but I think through tariffs right now, that's really going to be the driving factor to bring down, inflation. And I think that monetary policy, it'll get more stabilized. But all in all, higher prices means more stimulus as inflation rises, economic growth slows. The Fed will have no choice but to pump more liquidity into the system to prevent a recession, and then watch M2 start climbing. So we talked about the M2 just recently here, right? Just with the blue line here. I think that's a good signal here, because when the blue line goes up, the black line, Bitcoin, will follow, in about 2 months. It tends to have a lag behind the M2 supply. But I think key thing here is that, Bitcoin and MSTR, they're gonna, just continue to go up when you look at it from like a long-term perspective. I think that we're definitely still in the early time frames here. The fiat system is a reflective game of liquidity injections. Tariffs will be the catalyst, but Bitcoin is the only escape route. Let's go. I think definitely some huge upsides here. All right, so just going back to the chat here, looks like we got more people joining. So a day in the UK, thank you for joining, buddy. I appreciate you joining. My guess is you're out in the UK, but let's go through your comments here. Hey man, global liquidity is ahead of Bitcoin, and it's moved nicely to the upside. I believe Bitcoin will follow a weekly cycle in either in or perhaps a final dip to liquidate leverage shorts before the rocket launch. Let's go, guys. I think that that's where we're headed. Whether Bitcoin price, is it going to drop more? I mean, is it going to go below 70,000? Who knows? It's possible, but is it possible for it to V-shape up? It's possible just as well. It all really depends, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how the stock market behaves, because key thing here that we're beginning to learn is that Bitcoin price tends to go up when the stock market goes up, and when we have Donald Trump, as the president, I think that the stock market tends to perform very well. I mean, I think at one point consumer confidence is going to, get back to normal. I think just with the recent news with tariffs, that causes consumer confidence to drop quite a bit. But at one point, things are just going to start ramping up. I mean, I think on the small scale, at one point, these federal fund rates will start going down, and small caps will actually start doing good as well. But let's take a look at this here from Crypto Vici here. So what if Bitcoin closes March above 125,000? So it's interesting here. I mean, very bullish forecast here. MARA earnings per share 124 at 1392, price to earnings ratio 11. But if you factor in Bitcoin at 125K here, 4.7 earnings per share with a price to earnings ratio of 40, that equates to $188. So very bullish here. Who knows? Can it go up that much? I mean, from $3 to $80, where it currently is from $14 to $188. Anything is possible in this stock market here. So let's go. Let's see what comments there are here. So Brian, do you think we are in a crypto bear market, and would you consider a run to the highs a bear market rally? So Brian, I think that there's the bull case, there's the bear case, but what I'm thinking is that what we just saw was a recent retracement. It may go down to 70,000, it may go down to 68,000. It's very possible, but I think with that drop, you're going to have so many people buying that up, and once we have that buy up happen, it's going to just shoot back up. So I think even though we see the retracement in Bitcoin, it's not going to stay down. There's too much in the game right now. I mean, you look at the strategic Bitcoin reserve like adoption here, you got too many states now involved here, right? So when you look at it from like a day-to-day perspective, like if you're day trading it, that's different. But from a long-term perspective, Bitcoin is eventually going to be adopted by all these states. So it's going to go up to like hundreds of thousands into the millions. All right, so William, thank you. Yep, definitely hit the like, subscribe. I appreciate you guys all joining, and please leave your questions and comments in the chat here. All right, so I'll continue here, and wanted to give you some updates with Riot Platforms as well. I'm very bullish on Riot. Maybe not everyone here is invested in Riot and all that, but I definitely do think that the current price is definitely undervalued. And here you see Riot is aggressively pursuing the AI HPC opportunity. Just with their two facilities alone in Texas here at Rockdale and Corsicana, that equates to 1.7 gigawatts of power, which can power up like Stargate, for example. I mean, you look around the entire United States, I think the total gigawatt capacity is around, I think, 20 to, I might be incorrect, around 20 gigawatts. But if you have 2 gigawatts there, I mean, that really can power up the project on a large scale here. But just going through just the timeline here. So Riot did engage consultants on the AI HPC opportunity, and they're looking at it from a full-on spectrum, how they could bring shareholder value. So this all really depends on who that client is, what the client needs are. But very interesting how Riot also improved their their board of directors. So they brought on people from like the prior CEO of Hut 8. They also have board of directors, a technical engineer who actually worked at Meta, Facebook, and a board of director with experience in like data centers and real estate. So you see all of these board of directors, they have experience from different companies and really can apply the latest and greatest technology for full on scale deployment at Riot Platforms. And Riot's they're engaging with financial advisors to see what's the best return on investment here. And at any point in time we can hear updates on Riot, how they're going to position themselves to HPC AI. It all depends on that ink deal with the client, and once we get that ink deal, very well Riot can start just running up. But I think the key thing here as we look at areas of focus, HPC AI, That's all attributed to like the big time investors like Starboard and DE, the DE firm that just bought into Riot here. But just with their Bitcoin yield, I mean, they're right behind Mara. I mean, they're like 45% of what Mara has, so not as big as Mara when it comes to the Bitcoin yield, but close to getting up to like uh, you know 18,000 Bitcoins on the balance sheet, low cost of power, and improving their overall operational efficiency. But looking at the the revenue that they brought in, I mean, $376 million, increase of like 34%, just on the capacity with mining. They brought in 321 million. So definitely their actual earnings per share, dominated the expected results. All right, so let's see what other questions there are here. So you know, Mara will dominate. Bitcoin is doing what Bitcoin does. This is normal. Don't panic. Definitely. I'm with you on that, William. So I have been in stocks for, 7+ months and in crypto for 1.5 months. And I really hope that that this massive drop was considered a short bear market, because it wasn't considered a bear market. I do not want to know what an actual bear market is like. I am down like 30-40% on my stocks because of all the tariffs and Bybit hack. Yeah, so there's lots to learn, Uncle Timble. Just key thing is, don't let the emotions come into play. Do your research, and you'll learn from these events. There's always going to be, corrections, retracements, bear markets, but try not to time the market so much. Anytime when we're investing, we're basically disagreeing with where the current price is, and we're forecasting whether it's going to be, a higher price or a lower price. That's basically how the market works. But I think through investing, following a strategy and plan, you'll be all right. So a day in the UK. So 11,000 shares in Riot, massive consolidation pattern stemming from 2022. What's your latest price target? So that's some huge numbers there with shares. Uh, I think just based on where we are. I mean, you know, um, Riot's price. I mean, let's take a look at the technicals here. Okay, so I have like four stocks here. So, MSTR. We have like MSTX, MSTU. Think of MSTX, MSTU like two times on steroids with MSTR. So, with MSTR going up like 6% on the day, think of it as double recently. But just based on the year perspective here, the year perspective, MSTR of course is still up, right? Because that's based on the 2024 gains as well. But just based on 1 year performance, Clean Spark, Mara down 55%. Can you believe that? Riot down big numbers as well. So what does that mean? Seasonality. That means when a miner underperforms so much in the prior year, they're going to do better this year. And of course, we're still early in. It's only been 2 months in, where we haven't received much data points here. But I think the inverse is really going to kick in for these miners here, these big three miners like Riot, Mara, CleanSpark. Let's scale back here, year to date. So which stock is doing the best right now? Surprisingly, Riot is ahead of Strategy, CleanSpark, and Mara. I mean, MSTR is number two, CleanSpark three, Mara, four. I mean, there's been heavy selling pressure on Mara, but I think the fundamentals, the driving catalyst of their earnings report, they showed really good data just recently. And while we're talking about earnings report, just give you a high level update with just with Mara here. I mean, they're doing so well here. I mean, hash rate went up 115%, 53 exahash from 2023, so nearly doubled. I mean, they increased their Bitcoin production, their net income, $541 million Q4. Blocks won 24% year over year increase. Their revenue went up 69% year over year. They increased their Bitcoin hodl. I mean, let's go. I mean, you look at these prices here, they're doing really good with their fundamentals. Hash rate increases to combat mining difficulty. But you look here, Bitcoin production and hodl just continues to go up. And also they're improving their fleet efficiency. But here's the inverse pattern, just based on fundamentals. Investors like to see good financial data because this is where the money flows here. Revenue increased, but look at the net income. The last two earnings report, they were like net loss, but now big time net income increase, of course, with the appreciation of Bitcoin in Q4. But that's one of the driving factors, now with the miners being able to show that they can make money. But you see here, fleet efficiency improving with, their devices that's deployed with the mining capacity. But one other thing here is, just looking at, their cash on hand. So total current assets here, I mean, it's definitely, improved. You see the total assets from like last 2023, 1.9, but now it's 6.8 here. So definitely increase. While of course you have liabilities here, 2.5, but stockholders' equity 6.8. So definitely continue to grow with the hodl and the liquidity. All right, so just looking at the technicals, I mean, you know, I think as we look here, from a 1 month perspective, so 1 month perspective, MSTR is like last right now, 25%. But they're very close to like Mara, CleanSpark, Riot as well. So these four stocks have been slammed. But all of that is attributed to like tariffs, Bitcoin, and all that because these stocks, hedge, with Bitcoin price. So if Bitcoin price goes down, then you know by default, these stocks would generally underperform as well. But I think because we've seen heavy, selling pressure, we're going to see some huge upside in the rest of March here. So here, going to the chat. So, all right. So, Lyridon, when will CLSK break up? So, even though we had like really good data with CleanSpark, I mean, what did we see? I mean, some heavy selling of CleanSpark just recently as well. So, I think just with the last 5 days here, you could see that Mara was holding up quite well here, and that's because of their earnings report here. In fact, MSTR got hit hard the last five days, down 16%, CleanSpark 12%, Riot 10%, Mara 3%. I really do think that these four stocks here, it's hard to tell which one's going to outperform, but I think that because from a 1 month perspective, we've seen double-digit drops, like significantly big double-digit drops. On a 3 month perspective, we see like Mara, CleanSpark dropping by half of the price it was like three months ago. There's going to be some huge run-ups here, so I do think just based on technicals here, RSI at the low point of like, I don't think there's a recent RSI that dropped down to 12. If you scale back like 5 years at one point, during 2022 bear market cycle, but you could definitely see the RSI being very low here. But as you look here, what happened when the RSI was like super low? That's where we started seeing the RSI from a long-term perspective start kicking in here, right? So I think from a long-term view here, we may very well see a run up with these prices just from a long-term perspective. All right, so what other comments or questions do we have here? I hope that this is valuable information for you all here. But just looking at where we are currently, Bitcoin at 85,000. So we see here just recent retracement from like 86,000 now to 85,000. So we'll continue to see some price action here from a near-term perspective. But I think, key thing is, we're able to consolidate here from like 78,000 going up to 85,000. So very good signs here for us before we head into the new week ahead. But with that, I think that perhaps, I have to go, get ready for a dinner. But I think that this is a good ending point here. But just wanted to thank you all for joining. I hope that you guys enjoyed this live session. Thank you for asking those questions. And hopefully we see that V-shape in Bitcoin strategy and the big three miners. Hopefully next week will be a huge upside. But we'll see. We'll see how things go here. So thank you guys for joining. And take a look at the video I just released. It will give you more color on just the recent updates. But again, thank you for joining. And if you're new, hit the like, subscribe, guys. I really appreciate that. Yep, thank you. Day in the UK. Thanks, William. Thank you all for joining, Uncle Timble. Appreciate you guys all joining here. You guys take care. Bye now.